Thanks for joining us for this Tantrum House Kickstarter conniption. Today we're looking at the game Dungeon Party from Forbidden Games.
As always, we want to make sure that you are aware that our Kickstarter conniption videos are sponsored in part by our Kickstarter backers and the creators of this game. So let's get going. Hey guys, thanks for joining us today at Tantrum House Studio 3. I'm Will Meadows.
And I'm Sara Meadows, and today we're looking at Dungeon Party. This is from designers Jason Kalpaka and Glenn Drover.
It's a 2 to 8 player dexterity party game. Forbidden Games was kind enough to send us a copy to check out, so we're going to take a look at this prototype and see how it's played.
To set up the game, have each player select a character and set their starting health.
Assemble the dungeon by stacking a treasure, then monster, and finally a room coaster for each encounter, and then you're ready to begin.
Players enter the first room by flipping over the first 2 coasters and leaving the treasure face down.
Players will take turns bouncing quarters to attack the monster. If a player misses, they are attacked by the monster, the number of attack points shown on the tile.
If the player can land their coin on the monster, they deal 2 damage plus any bonuses and may possibly even use their special powers.
Powers include things like fireballs, removing curses, or dealing extra damage.
The player to make the final blow will reveal the treasure and take it, gaining any bonuses. They may also give it to another player in the party who may be able to wield its abilities.
Players reset their health, and then the next encounter is revealed. If a room has a trap, players must first attempt the trap, but they will take damage if they fail.
Players continue through the dungeon until they encounter the boss. If the party can work together to take down the final boss, they'll emerge alive from the dungeon and tally their scores by counting the gems acquired along the way. The player with the most gems wins.
Dungeon Party is basically a geekified quarter flipping game. It's a dexterity party game that only takes 30 seconds to set up and people can jump into immediately. It's a lot of fun to be able to try to flip those quarters. If you're better at quarter tossing than you're not, then you'll obviously do better at this game.
Yeah, it has a very simple set of rules, so you can play with all types of players in the game, and it also can accommodate larger groups. You will set up the dungeon a little bit differently. If you have a larger group, you'll probably have more encounters and monsters and things to go through in the dungeon, but you will still be fighting for those same treasures, and so you'll have to be strategic in how you try and make sure that you get the traps taken care of ahead of time, and maybe what order that players play in, so that those with powers that can attack certain monsters and use a bonus in a better way, those players might want to go first or towards the beginning of the attacks.
Yeah, it's a pretty quick game though. The majority of it is just trying to flip that coin and land it. There is a ton of different text on the cards though. Some of them are things like she's talking about that are more strategic and they give you powers that are helpful. A lot of the cards just have funny stuff, like they know that you're going to be playing this in like a bar or restaurant type atmosphere, or I think that's the goal at least. And some of the text on the cards are things like the last person to land a quarter has to go, try to be a goblin and gobble somebody else's food, or convince somebody else to get them a drink or whatever. So it's definitely encouraging that party-like atmosphere. I could see it working really well at like a Super Bowl party. I think that would be a lot of fun, where in between plays you can then flip a quarter and then go back to what you're doing, back and forth. It also bills itself as being an RPG game, and because you're in the dungeon and there are characters and different stats and things, I'm sure you could play that up as well. So a lot of diversity in what you might be able to do with this one.
Yeah, the final game, they're hoping to, instead of just have tiles like we had, have actual coasters, and then you can also use those if you'd like to. And then they will have custom coins that will come. We just used quarters because that's what we had available. And so you can use those newer coins, and they will all have different symbols. And so if your character has a specific ability, you can use those specific coins to go with your character.
If Dungeon Party looks like something that you'd be interested in, be sure to check it out on Kickstarter and see what kind of stretch goals and campaign they're running. We enjoyed having a good time playing with it. It was a quick one, an easy one to play for the whole family, and we'll be looking forward to seeing what all comes in that final campaign. So be sure and check that out. And then, as always, thanks so much for liking, following, and subscribing here at Take Your Mouse.
Do I sound as bad as I think
It's going to be full of coughs.
Okay. Dungeon Party. This is from designer Jason Kalpaka and
Angelina Jolie.